Thank you for joining our session today. I'm Stephen Atwell, the product manager of Harness Database DevOps. Joining me today is Daniel Gabriel of Athena Health. Daniel, can you tell us a little bit about Athena Health and your role there?
Sure. Athena Health is a company that's about curing complexity for ambulatory care practices and the patients that they serve. And I work as a member of our data as a service team. What we do is we're part of the internal developer platform, which builds the infrastructure technology that underlies the Athena One solution.
Awesome. And I know that their governance is really, really important in healthcare. Can you tell me a little bit about why and how it matters?
Yeah, so healthcare is a heavily regulated industry, and for good reason. The regulations are primarily focused on patient safety. And at Athena Health, patient safety is our top concern. So when we have regulations, we have to put in a lot of work around making sure that we satisfy all those conditions and all the regulations, because we want to make sure that the products that we put out guarantee patient safety and patient privacy.
What were some of the challenges you were encountering that caused you to look into leveraging Harness Database DevOps, and how are they showing up in your day-to-day release process?
When we worked with our original databases, we've developed for a long time a very mature platform for schema deployment. And as we did that, that process worked very well for us. However, one of the things that we noticed is as we continued to grow and add more databases into our platform, we ended up needing a more versatile solution. And so we started looking for some other options that we could use to help bring everything together.
That makes sense. So I know you looked at multiple options before you went with us, including things like Liquibase. Can you tell me a little bit about what your evaluation criteria were and why you wound up deciding to go with the solution you did?
Yeah, so one of the things that we ran into as we were going through all of this process is we have a relatively complex use case. Because we have many, many different types of databases and many, many different types of environments. We have our production databases, we have our developer databases, we have isolated databases for things like client training and preview of new features. We have all sorts of things in between. So tons and tons of different databases. It's not just as simple as taking a schema change and pushing it to the production database. We have to have a very lengthy and detail-oriented release process going all the way from development to eventually, once it's fully tested, making it to the production product. So there was that aspect of orchestration of getting our schemas all the way from dev to production and everywhere in between that we really needed. Beyond that, we have a lot of other requirements around like the tools that we use and how we can leverage them in a way that's going to guarantee patient safety. So given all of those criteria, we started looking for a few different options. We did look at Liquibase. We found that for the schema management side of things, the community edition was sufficient for us. What we were still really lacking was a sort of orchestration layer on top of everything that could help manage and say, the schema is good here. Now we can promote it from development to another test server. Then once it's good there, promote it to production, and so on. For that, we ended up going with Harness because even with our Jenkins CI infrastructure, for instance, we still lacked that sort of clear mapping and orchestration of going from A to B to C to D.
That makes sense. And how are you liking it so far, out of curiosity?
It's great. We're having basically the way that we deploy schema for some of our new databases is we have our teams basically develop their schema. They put it into the system, and it just sort of filters on through. It's very similar to the homebrew system that we developed ourselves many, many years ago. But one of the added benefits is we didn't have to build it this time.
So a lot of the companies here are significantly earlier than you in their database CI/CD journey. What advice would you have for them on how they should go about tackling getting to where they can more frequently ship database schema changes?
I'd say there's a few different things when it comes to database schema changes. First, you got to start with production. Make sure that the production database schema is like fully on lock and that no unexpected changes happen there. This is something that actually a lot of companies struggle with and can feel some uncertainty on because it's hard for developers sometimes to give up that control and not be able to just push a change into production. But it's very important for companies eventually to have that respect and discipline to show their customers, we're not going to change anything of your production data on the fly. It all happens through like a very regimented process. At Athena Health, that's how we do it. And we want to make sure that anytime a change happens and goes out, that it's tested very, very thoroughly. So for companies that are sort of on their way towards a process like that, I would say start at production and then build out more and more systems backwards until you even have that kind of control on your developer environment.
Awesome. And then, as you know, during Unscripted today, we're launching a new capability to leverage AI to author your database changes. As one of our customers and design partners for this ability, you've had the opportunity to try it out. I was wondering if you could share your thoughts on this capability based off your usage so far.
One of the things that really struck me about the AI schema changes was how it can sort of provide like rapid operational support for developer environments. As I was saying, part of our process involves doing things like developing the schema in like the dev environment, and then as testing and other parts of the application mature, promoting those changes up through the integration and then eventually production environments. And so the faster you can make that first step, the faster you can get features out, and you can do similar things if you have to fix critical issues as well.
Yeah, so Dan, what are some of the challenges that Athena Health faced around database changes before you implemented Harness Database DevOps?
Sure. So there's a lot of different challenges that we have to contend with when it comes to database DevOps. My team is a platform level team, and we sort of develop and deploy for the teams that we work with underlying infrastructure technologies that support the Athena One solution. And so there are a lot of teams working all the time to release tons and tons of different features. They don't necessarily have the same release cadence. And when they go to release a feature, it doesn't just get switched on by one of our toggles. There's a very in-depth process of developing it, testing it. Sometimes it goes to different preview or training environments first. All kinds of things. There's many, many different environments between when the developer writes the code to when the code is in front of a customer. So we had a few different challenges that we had to do. One was, how do we get schema changes for different teams that have different release cadences reliably out the door, and how to do it safely. And then the other challenge is, how do we make sure that those schema changes are correctly reflected across all the different environments that they have to be reflected across. Using the DB DevOps model, we're able to basically create a sort of map of all those different environments, and then we can direct a flow of those schema changes and say, okay, if it works in dev, then we can promote it to int, and then it'll get promoted to the int environment, and then if it works in the integration environment, let's say, then we can promote it to production and so on. There's a lot more steps in between, but that's the simplified version. So yeah, having a tool that lets us build that type of orchestration layer was really sort of like the thing that we were looking for, and like the main challenge of what we were trying to build is we needed something that had that orchestration layer.
And before database DevOps, that manual promotion process you're describing, how are you making sure that the database changes reached each environment in the right order with the right testing?
Before this, we were using our home-built system, which for some of our databases we still use. It's very mature, and basically what it does is it does all the same things that we do now with the DB DevOps module, except we built it ourselves. So the added advantage of the DB DevOps module is we don't have to build it. You have already built it for us. We don't have to maintain it. So we're able to just get straight to making use of it and building out those features that facilitate like safe and stable deployments.
Awesome. And then, what do you think some of the risks were if Athena Health had delayed their database DevOps journey and, kept working the way they were previously?
One of the things about our particular type of application development is that almost all the applications that we build rely on the data, right? The data is almost everything. We have our patient data, which has to be kept safe and secure and private. And then there's the data that our clinicians provide. All that stuff is then used by the application to inform certain business decisions and to make sure that the application presents the correct information to the providers. But the important thing here is that everything relies on the data, and the data is on the database with a certain schema. So the data can only exist when there's a schema to describe how the data works. And so basically, the faster we go with the schema, the faster we're able to make changes in the way that the data is shaped. And the faster we're able to make changes in the way the data is shaped, the faster we're able to update the application. And the faster we're able to update the application, the faster we're able to get features out to our customers. So us adopting the database DevOps stuff sooner means that we're able to operate that much faster, that much quicker. In many ways, it's sort of like a multiplying force, and that's sort of the approach that our team takes as a platform team. Is we want to be a force multiplier for the teams that we serve and that we provide features for. So we have to adopt these things faster and be at the forefront so that all those features that they rely on are there and ready for them that much sooner.
So then would it be fair to say that really what database DevOps is doing for you is it's allowing you to ship software and innovate faster and thus to outcompete your competitors in the market?
That's the plan, yes.
Awesome. And since, I know you're an AI enthusiast in general, what are your thoughts on how AI is going to change beyond just that feature, how companies are doing their database changes in the future?
Athena Health has lots and lots of tables in our relational databases. And one of the things that we've sort of discovered over a very, very long time is that even with a well-designed schema, even with well-crafted, like human-made queries, the queries themselves can still have subtle inefficiencies in them that AI tools can help with. So one of the things that I sort of see coming up in the future is humans gathering things like database metrics, performance metrics of queries, that kind of stuff, and then having an AI analyze them and see if it can find some of those subtle inefficiencies, and then testing out how they work. And then if everything works and all your tests are good, then you can ship the new version of the query that has those AI optimizations built in. Going even further beyond that, I can sort of see a world where instead of having that process be driven primarily by humans, it can be driven primarily by AI. So you can have like AI agents more or less looking at the queries, looking at the performance metrics, coming up with the proposed performance improvements, and then doing the testing, right? And then humans will have some overview of it to make sure it actually does what it says it does. But with minimal human interaction, having the AI sort of run this optimization engine on top of the database.
I want to say thank you very much for taking the time to come out here to Unscripted and share your thoughts on all of this with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.